Imagine this. You're leaning back in your seat and you're taking the last bite of a staggering 5-course meal. The a la carte restaurant, which has been fondly nicknamed the Ritz over the past weekend, is a fine dining dream. And you and the rest of the first-class passengers are stuffed. It's a cloudless night, and the glass-like water reflects the stars back up to the heavens as the bow of the ship that you're on slices through at full speed. You're dressed well. Smart suits and evening gowns are everywhere. The gentlemen are biting casually on uncut cigars, and the women are dripping with pearls. And your waiter approaches your table and presents you with a surprise. A crystal glass holding a frozen drink that's topped off with what seems to be a sweet meringue. Punch Romaine, he announces, placing it in front of you. You clink your glasses with your dinner party, and you take a small bite with a demitasse spoon. It's light, it's citrusy, and it's refreshing. It is the perfect palate cleanser. And as the music plays and the restaurant starts to close down, you see another passenger, Mr. Chevra, disappear into the smoking room with a few of his friends and a deck of cards. And then, a little while later, you feel a shudder. Everyone stops what they're doing, and they kind of look around. You step to the window just in time to see it, a massive iceberg floating in the North Atlantic. You taste your drink again, and you shrug. It's a good thing the ship's unsinkable. Welcome back to another episode of Crown Gilded and Screwed. And actually, by that I mean welcome to a brand new type of episode of Crown Gilded and Screwed, Happy Hour Edition. I am your host and bartender, Kara Mae Adamo, and I will be taking care of you this evening. If you've been here before, welcome back. And for those that are new here, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us today. You've actually dropped in, like I said, on a brand new series that we're starting here at CGS. Normally on this show, we cover a royal or some sort of person that's rather royal adjacent, as I often say, gold gilded and such. But today we're going to be ramping up to one of those episodes with a bit of a how-to class. Our next episode is actually going to be on Ida and Isidor Straus, who were not only a happily married couple, but they were also the owners of Macy's department stores at the turn of the century. Now, they died together on the Titanic, and so for that episode, I thought it'd be fun to kind of pair it with the Punch Romaine, because it was the last drink that was officially served in first class the night that the ship sank. Other, of course, than the brandy that they started just handing out to everybody willy-nilly, announcing, "Drink up, boys, she's going down." So other than that, in terms of very formal, planned out, not at all panicked drinks, the Punch Romaine was the last one that was consumed and enjoyed before the whole, iceberg debacle. So I don't really like to drink alone. It's less fun, just objectively. So I thought it would be kind of fun to teach all of you how to make this drink. So that way I can give you a shopping list. You could try it out for yourselves. And then when the Straus episode does come out, maybe we can all enjoy it together. I think it sounds more fun. So like I said, the original Punch Romaine was served frozen. Now, because of that, I'm actually going to teach you two variations. I'm going to teach you the original as well as a non-frozen version that you can make and kind of drink immediately. I figured that way, if you have time and the inclination to make the OG version, you can. But if you've gathered together with some of your friends and you want to drink it immediately, I understand completely. So I've created a version that's very similar, but it's going to be more ready to drink. There is an incredible YouTube channel and website called Tasting History. I highly recommend checking them out. It is run by a guy named Max. We're going to link out to them, so if you're interested, you can go visit their site. They find and research, or Max finds and researches, cocktails and old-timey recipes. So I actually snagged the original recipe from him, and I wanted to give him credit for that. So because he is super informative, and I like giving creators shout-outs, So definitely pop over, check that out if you can. Now, the drink was originally designed in 1903 by Chef Auguste Escoffier. He was a French chef that really modernized French cooking, and he was about a year or so younger than Isidor Straus, who, again, we're going to be covering on our upcoming episodes. So they were kind of contemporaries, not really known whether or not they knew each other, but they were about the same age. And I'm going to put his exact quote regarding that recipe up on our screen, because that's what we're pulling all of this from. Quote, "Mix dry champagne into 5 deciliters of syrup and add the juice of 2 oranges and 3 lemons and a thin strip each of orange and lemon zest. Cover and allow to infuse for 1 hour. Pass through a strainer. Freeze the punch in the machine until it is fairly stiff. Then mix in 1/4 of its quantity of Italian meringue. When about to serve, finish the punch with rum, a little added at a time. So again, that is his quote from 1903 when he originally designed the recipe. Okay, so like I said, slightly different setup. Bar regulars, this seems familiar, I'm sure. Basically, what I have here is everything other than the ice for the most part that you're going to need, minus the simple syrup, which we're gonna make in a minute. So you're going to need eggs, you're going to need oranges, you do need lemon, little container for the eggshell, of course, because I'm doing this in front of all of you. You're gonna need some rum. You're going to need white wine. Now the white wine is actually for the non-frozen version, but I am going to list it here just so that you guys can remember that and kind of grab it if you want to. And then we're also going to have bubbly. So let's start off talking about the bubbly. I'm actually switching up the original recipe just a little bit here. Instead of champagne, I'm going to be using Prosecco. Now, there are two reasons that I like to use Prosecco more than champagne when it comes to a mixed drink. The first is that you don't really taste the subtleties of like the champagne. So springing for champagne, which is generally marked a little bit higher in price, doesn't necessarily make sense to me, but it's not just price though, it goes further than that. Prosecco is made using the Charmant method, which is a little bit different in approach than Méthode Champenoise. Basically, during the secondary fermentation process for Prosecco, it happens within stainless steel tanks as opposed to it happening within individual bottles, which is how they do it for champagne. Now, why does this matter? It matters because what happens in those tanks creates a larger bubble in the Prosecco, which is made from the Glera grape. I personally feel that this is a little bit better for cutting through things like juices and syrups and all of that. And the unique effervescence of champagne that champagne is prized for, like I said, won't really stand out in a mixed drink. I find that the bubbles are weighted down entirely too much. It kind of goes flat in the glass. So in my house, mimosas are served using Prosecco instead because it gives you just a little bit more of that bubbly kind of zest. It's a personal preference. I do encourage you to play around with it, find out what works best for you. But we're going to treat this punch a little bit like a mimosa when we're making the unfrozen version because it's kind of like a mimosa meets a fizz in nature, if you're familiar with a gin fizz. I suspect this difference will be more important with this ready-to-make drink than it will be in the frozen one. How much it matters will likely depend on, which one you choose to drink. So let's start with the OG one first, since that's the one that has to infuse and then freeze. So first we're going to be heating up some simple syrup, and you're gonna make that by combining equal parts water and sugar over a low heat until it dissolves. All right, so while all of that is warming up, we're going to start peeling our oranges and our lemons, and then we're going to juice them and add them to the syrup. So first, make sure when you are peeling your fruit that you're not including the pith. Now the pith is that white part that's just under the skin on your fruits, like your citrus. Pith is kind of bitter and it's gonna mess up your drink. What you want is the zest itself. You're not looking for that bitter under part of it. So this rule generally applies to any peels that you're using in a cocktail, whether it's a lemon drop or an old fashioned, whatever you're using a peel for, you want the peel, not the pith. So we're just gonna take your peeler and very, very lightly just to the surface level, getting as little, as you could see, as little of that white as possible. The white stays on the orange, and this is mostly just the peel. And we're just gonna do that in strips. And you can already smell the oils coming into the air. It's great. Okay, so we have peeled all of our fruit. Now we've got the lemon and the orange peels, which smells amazing. We're going to let them simmer for about pretty much an hour, and it'll all reduce down. You're creating a citrusy simple syrup out of this. Okay, so I got a little carried away. I did peel all of the fruits. You only need a strip or two of each lemon and orange, but I actually like boiling all of the peels, and it really smells amazing in the house. So I will be doing that with all of these peels, but remember that you're just taking a nice thin strip of the lemon and a strip of the orange, and you're going to be putting those inside of the pot, and you're gonna let all of that simmer for about an hour. we're going to start making the Italian meringue. So to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to heat up equal parts sugar and water. For this, I'm doing 2 egg whites, so I'm going to do about half a cup of each just to get a decent amount without going overboard. So I'm going to pour these into the saucepan, but because clearly I don't have a cooking service, I will be heating this up off camera. But what you're going to do is heat this on high for about 4 to 5 minutes. You want to be somewhere in the vicinity of the area to make sure that it doesn't boil over or burn, but you're not going to stir it. Definitely don't stir this. Just let it kind of heat and consolidate together. And that's just your basic simple syrup. And while we are doing that, we're going to beat our egg whites. So like I said, we're going to do 2 egg whites in a nice clean bowl, and we're going to beat them until we get a nice kind of shiny peak out of them. And then gradually pour in the warm, simple syrup as we go and just keep beating the egg whites to make the meringue. All right, so as we can see, we have nice shiny peaks for our meringue. So now the next step is actually pretty simple. You're going to take your sorbet, which I have over here. I pulled it out so that we could actually see it. You're going to fold in about 1/4 of the amount of sorbet. You're going to fold that much of the meringue into your dish, and then you're going to freeze it for an additional 3 hours. So we froze the slushy sorbet boozy delightfulness in the freezer for about, like I said, 3 hours. I do not have an ice cream scoop apparently in this house. I guess when I eat ice cream, I'm essentially a feral raccoon and just dig in with a spoon right out of the pint. So we're just gonna use a spoon, but it is of course always nicer when you actually have an ice cream scoop to make it all pretty. I had looked at it a little bit beforehand. It was frozen a little bit harder than I expected, so I did chop it up a little bit off camera. Feel free to do that. And all you're gonna do is place a decent amount of it inside of your glass. I would say as much as you want. I mean, it's your drink. It looks really light and airy. It's a slightly yellow color, but you could definitely see how it's gotten a little bit fluffier because of the egg white meringue that we added and all of that. So you're just gonna basically create a little frozen drink. Next is gonna be a little bit of rum. They don't really specify how much rum. I would say about like 1/2 to a full ounce, depending on how much of it you want. You can use either an aged rum or a white rum. I have white rum in my bar on hand, so that's what we're gonna be using. I'm probably gonna do probably about a full ounce. So we got that. And you can see it's already starting to kind of melt, become a bit of a slushy, and then we have more of that meringue on top. And it just looks like a nice little floating cloud. It's nice and light, it's nice and sweet. It's gonna balance out that citrusy champagne sort of combination we have with the slushy. And then of course we do have the orange. I'm using the same orange that I did from the other one because I don't want to waste an orange. And we're just gonna create yet again a nice peel, one that doesn't have any of the pith, just has the rind. So again, just the orange. We're going to express, so you pinch over the meringue to make sure those oils come out. And we're going to wipe the side of the glass and just kind of twist it on top. And there you have it. We have the last drink that they ever had on the Titanic the night that it sank, and it smells incredible, so I'm gonna try it out right now. Oh, okay. Oh, that's strong. That's really good though. This is this is like a great poolside, like hot summer day kind of a thing. This is fantastic. It's really, really good. I would actually say between the 2 drinks that we made, I think that what I would actually do is if I wanted to do the non-frozen version, although this is very good, I would probably top it with the meringue instead of maybe the egg white foam on top, because I think that the sweetness of the meringue adds something that you're just not really getting otherwise. But both are excellent. If you want a less sweet version, do the unfrozen version. If you want a nice sweet sort of dessert, palate cleansing, frozen option, this one is fantastic. It's a lot of steps, I know, but honestly worth every second of it. So cheers. First things first, I'm trying to do this in a coupe glass. I recommend these for fizzes. You can always use a rocks glass if you're more comfortable with that. Sometimes people don't like the stem. I think it's rather cute, and it is the traditional way. So I'm putting ice inside of this, and I'm setting it off to the side because I like a nice chilled coupe glass since there's not gonna be any ice in this drink once it's actually served. So we're gonna put this off to the side, let that make the glass nice and frosted. So first off, we're going to start off with a dry shake. This is what's going to give you that really incredible foam from the egg whites. And if you want it to be a little bit more of a thick layer than a thin layer, the dry shake is always the way to do it. I will say, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings when it comes to egg white. I don't mind egg white in my drinks. I like it quite a bit. My mother doesn't really enjoy them. So there actually is a vegan non-egg version of this if you're not into raw egg in your drinks. And that is to sub it out with some aquafaba, which is what you're going to find lima beans in. So aquafaba, when used in a drink, doesn't add any weird flavor to the drink, and it gives you a similar foam to what an egg white will. It's not gonna be quite the same, but it'll be like close enough. So you do have an option if you're not so into eggs. Don't worry about that. So to start off with the dry shake, we're gonna crack our eggs first, and we're gonna separate out the yolk. So I'm just gonna give that a tap. Bring it over to my shaker. And we're gonna be doing the same technique for the meringue when it comes time. So we're just gonna use the shell as a bit of a filter to try to get some of that egg white out. All right, so now that we've got our egg white, we're going to add about half an ounce roughly of simple syrup. I am now using a sugar-free simple syrup because it's not the one that I just made. I didn't feel like making two. You can use just straight up simple syrup without the orange rind, or you can use the one with the orange rind. It's up to you. We're gonna do just about half an ounce using my jigger. So we have this. Now we're going to add the juices as well, and I'm going to add about an ounce of the wine. So we're gonna do an ounce of wine here. And then I'm gonna do about this, probably about 3/4 of an ounce of the, no, let's do an ounce of the rum. These are all kind of a loose term. That's done with a speed pour. You can always use your jigger if you prefer. I happen to have a speed pour on hand, and that's how we always used to do it. So I'm gonna add the juices in just a second, and then I'll be right back. I have about half an ounce of our lemon juice. We're gonna pour that right in there. And we have about 3/4 of an ounce of the orange juice. Pours like so. So the nature of a dry shake, the whole point is that you're gonna shake it without ice first. And what that's gonna do is it's going to help basically emulsify everything and create kind of a froth early on. So basically, we're just gonna shake the shit out of it for a few seconds. Make sure that the top is on really secure when you're doing this, because otherwise you're gonna wear all of that raw egg all over your body, which is not a great moment. Trust me, I've done it many times. And what you're basically doing while you do this is you're whipping the ingredients together and you're letting them all kind of combine, emulsify, and create that fizzy sort of a frothiness. So I'm just gonna do this. We are ready to pour this out. So when you open this, make sure that you open it away from you because it might have a little bit of gas built up. Yeah, you can see it actually did splash a little bit. Don't really want it on your clothes. So you're gonna point it out to you when you open this up, kind of check on it. It's definitely already frothy. So we're gonna spin this back on. Now open the actual container itself now that all the gas has been released. And now we're gonna add that ice, which I have off to the side here. Now we're going to screw this back on. Again, nice and tight. And we're gonna shake it again. Grabbed my nice preserved bottle already in the fridge, still nice and cold, which is great. We're gonna open this up, tilt it out, of course, and now we're going to pour. You're gonna make sure that you're gonna leave a little bit of room on the top for when you pour in your champagne. So you already see how you've got that nice kind of foam on the top. It's gonna change completely when you pour this in now because of that dry shake. So do it slowly because you don't want this thing to overflow like crazy, which it will. Yeah, look at that. See what I mean? It's a nice thick layer, creates that beautiful froth, that Instagram worthy kind of a vibe. Now it's time for an orange peel. So again, we're gonna start, use your thumb when you're doing this and it'll actually help guide you a little bit. Because you don't want that pith. Sometimes it takes 1 or 2 tries to do it right. Now, the rule when it comes to doing an orange peel, selecting an orange for the peel itself, is actually a little different than it is when you're about to use an orange for the drink. When you use the orange for the drink, you want it to have a lot of juice. Obviously, we want juice in this orange as well, but you want to have something with a firm skin. That is the most important part because it makes it a lot easier to actually peel the thing. So make sure that you have a nice no pith orange skin, and you're going to express this over your drink, which means you're going to twist just slightly. That's why sometimes this is called a twist. You could twist this slightly, kind of pinch a little bit. You'll even notice, you can't see it on camera, but when you do it, you will notice that little tiny droplets of the orange oil just kind of come into the air a little bit. They dance upward from the drink and then they land back onto that beautiful foam. Now there are a couple of rules of thumb when it comes to these orange twists. Some people just drop it in. It's the wrong way to do it. Never just drop it in. You do see a lot of people rim the glass. Now this is kind of nice because as you drink the beverage, it will incorporate with some of that orange oil, and it also reaches your nose as you're drinking it. Most of the eating and drinking experience actually has more to do with your olfactory system than with the drink itself. We only have so many tastes, but we have innumerable scents in our memory. So that is why you're going to see a lot of people smell drinks before, especially wine, before they drink them. That would be the reason. So what I like to do though, this is a little tip that bartender buddy of mine named Ryan back in DC taught me. He used to do this on the side of the glass, which I also started doing as well. And the reason that you want to do it on the side is you want the oils to get on your hand. And that is because every time somebody reaches and grabs the drink, they'll get a little bit more of that. And it's just more of that orange citrusy zest that you're looking for. And it won't dilute into the drink quite as much as it does when you're only doing the rim part. So there you have it, the Punch Romaine. And it smells incredible, I'm not gonna lie. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's about to be a problem. Yeah, definitely make this drink. Make this drink, do the dry fizz, all the stuff. It's incredible. It is a little bit different than the frozen version. I will say I think I like them both. I imagine that for the show, the unfrozen version might work better just because the other one will melt. And I don't think I'll be eating it with a spoon while I talk, but you never know. Haven't made that decision yet. This is probably the one I'm gonna go with. But both are fantastic. I'm probably gonna use the other one poolside soon. So honestly, make them both, enjoy them both, 2 for the price of 1, right? Same ingredients with the exception of that wine. By the way, the reason we decided to go with wine is because in the other version, you are incorporating champagne early on in the process. I didn't want to shake the carbonated champagne inside of this shaker. So that's why I went with regular wine instead. So regular white wine was in place of that because of the shaking process. That's all for today though. Make sure that you hit that like button if you enjoyed this episode. Share this with your friends, serve it at a dinner party, pair it with our upcoming episode, all the things. Remember to tip your servers and bartenders, don't drink and drive, and we will see you next time. Cheers.